in the comments section recently made a remark saying, Ingram, you were a big fan of Joe Joyce and you were pushing Joe Joyce. Now you're backing out on Joe Joyce. What happened? Now, it's not a case of what happened or why I'm making the comments I'm making about Joe Joyce. Yes, I've always said that Joe Joyce wasn't the fastest in the world on his feet, but he had a George Foreman esque um, sort of aura about him in terms of the way that when, like Big George would maneuver you to the ropes, and then he would pummel you when you're on your ropes, when you're on the ropes. So he'd use the big jab, use his physicality, push you to the ropes or force you to the ropes, and then an onslaught of punches would come. And that's very much like how George George's career has been as a pro. You know, most of his work, his best work, is when he's got you against the ropes and he's unloading 4 or 5 punches with you trapped on the ropes, you know, and his work rate. Those are the things that, you know, and obviously Joyce walking through punches. Those are the things that have made Joe Joyce, you know, the fights that we knew him as before he fought Zile Zhang. And I said, with the right opponents, he could do real damage. So there's a difference taking a left hand off a 19 stone man or 20 stone man in Zhang and taking a left hand from Usyk. Usyk will hit you with more of the left hands, but there's always the opportunity you could pin him on the ropes and put pressure on because Usyk's easier is easy to hit. I'm not saying that you've seen he can be hit. You see many of these fights, his face is bruised up and busted up after fights. You know, um, Derek Chisel was able to get at him. And I always thought the Joe Joyce fight against Usyk was always a good matchup. I always thought that Joyce had a good chance in that fight. Maybe not early on, but down the stretch is where I felt that Joyce may be able to put the pressure on Usyk, back him up against the ropes and catch him with something nasty. And I always thought that would be a more difficult fight for Usyk than probably would be advertised. But anyway, so that's how I kind of view Joe Joyce. I view Joe Joyce as a guy who if you pick the right fights for him, he could become heavyweight champion of the world. You know, there's no way I would never have put Joe Joyce in there with Zile Zhang. Never. The dynamics, the guy's huge, you know, and I'm not saying that Zhang is a better boxer than Usyk, but in terms of one punch power, in terms of the sort of damage you can cause, you know, there was a concern there, or I had that concern. Anyway, so I'm slightly digressing by to my point, but I backed Joe Joyce. When I saw him up close when I was with Bwtm Sports when he was in England, and I was really close with Bwtm when he was in England. I mean, I was, you know, I went and visited in the hotel room. You know, I saw him when he's putting out all his garish shorts and his all his like the uniform he'd wear. Absolutely amazing to see that stuff. You know, walk with him, go with him in the cab to the arena, do the ring walk with him. So it was like a surreal watching one of your mates boxing at a high level at the O2 Arena. So I got to see a lot of things behind the scenes that a lot of people that are not involved in the sport, up close and got to meet a lot of important people within boxing behind the scenes. But yeah, my point is I was able to sit down and watch Joe Joyce up close. I was able to see how damaging he can be up close when he's got fighters against reps. And I thought, well, if he can do that against Severn, Severn weren't nothing special. But if he could do that effectively, and then he fought Bryant Jennings straight after that. Bryant Jennings is a guy that I have a lot of time for. Anyone who's followed my channel will see me do countless interviews with Bryant Jennings. Another guy I thought could do very well in boxing. Um, I saw him fight Bryant Jennings. I saw Jennings hit him with a body shot, and he really almost doubled Joyce up with that body shot. But Joyce was going through his fighting. If you looked at his resume or his CV in terms of fighters and his career with like 13, 14 fights, he was fighting guys that were within the top 10. That if you look at the guys like any of the heavyweights, I mean, from Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Lennox Lewis, you go for any of them all, and look at their first 10 fights or the first 11 fights, they were fighting guys you never heard of. But at least the guys Joe Joyce was fighting were guys you knew their names. They either British champions or you know fought within the top 10, top 20. So he was fighting good guys. I mean, he fought a guy that FA dropped FA Jagba. He had that fight in America against that guy. It was a shootout, good fight. You know, so I always felt with his career he was being matched and matched in a way that potentially any of those nights he could have got beaten, and he did really well. He's doing really well. Um, but it was the Joseph Parker fight where I kept saying to myself, you know what, he's taking a too many punches, and his trainer for all the time when he fought against Dubois, I thought he boxed really well against Dubois, and I backed him to beat Dubois because I thought, having heard the stories I'd heard about Dubois, I felt that once Joyce stepped to Dubois and put pressure on him, eventually he would crack, and he did in that fight because I'd heard the stories, inspiring stories, and I've been told by people who actually sparred Dubois what had happened. So I said, well, if Joyce can apply that pressure, and then there were a lot of things about in the amateurs where he choked in the amateurs, and then when Dubois was around the table, Joyce was like a man, and Dubois was still talking like he was a young boy, you know. So I was viewing Joyce as a guy that he'd gone through, he's fighting the guys, he wasn't afraid to fight anybody, and I felt he had the tools to do the job. He didn't have to be the fastest heavyweight in the world. He had a great chin, had good punching power, good outlet, a good engine. I thought he's got a good chin. He's got good power. Now, if you can get a trainer, now that would give him defense. Let's hope Salas within the time frame that he's had his career, that Salas is going to implement some sort of defense for Joyce. It never happened. It was same old every fight with Joe Joyce. There was no adjustments. I thought when he fought Dubois, the adjustments were coming, but then he went to war, walking through bombs with Joe Parker. I'm thinking that fight, that's where the damage was done with Joe Joyce, right in that fight against Joseph Parker. And then after that, if you remember in the media, everyone talking about, oh, Joe's chin is indestructible. It's this, it's that. So that was a lot of hype coming from the media. That's why it's dangerous to listen to the media, because it's not them taking the punches. Oh, he's indestructible. Joe's this, Joe's that. I even come up with the British George Foreman where somebody nicked that phrase of British George Foreman and started announcing Joyce as a British George Foreman. That's that long time ago. Even Uncle Bashir even said to me, "Yeah, I see what you're saying about the whole George Foreman thing." But Joyce never progressed from that point. He never moved on from that point. He was doing the same thing in every fight after that. He's doing the same things. He went into the Parker fight, and I warned people in the Parker fight, he takes too many punches. Then this fight come out of nowhere for Zhang. And before we got to the Zhang fight, if you remember, at the start he had David Hay, then he had Sam Jones. Like, I'd say both guys, I would say both of them are quite knowledgeable about boxing, and both of them somehow or the other disappeared. Hey Steph, how you doing, brother? Both of them seem to just disappear, or somehow or the other exited their ways out of Joe Joyce's boxing career. And it's, oh yeah, I know. And then Sam was saying, oh yeah, Joe's gonna knock out Zhilei Zhang. I'm like, no, bro, he's not gonna knock out Zhilei Zhang. First of all, Zhang's a southpaw. Secondly, Zhang hits with that one punch, that left hand. And thirdly, Joyce is there to be hit. And if Joyce is there to be hit, and Zhang's got a big left hand, and it's not just Zhang's a big guy with a left hand, he's a big guy with a left hand, which is a former Olympian. That itself was a problem. And then you saw what happened with the Herkovich fight. That in itself was a problem. And I never rated Herkovich, by the way. I never rated Herkovich. All the people on here, they've all gone missing now. I never rated Herkovich. These are side notes, by the way. I never rated Herkovich. I always thought that he was great for sparring, but when it come down to a real fight, he'd disappear. And I said that. And same with that Abdul Salamov, what his name is. Yeah, him as well. He was big. That was it. Couldn't fight. I said that Ajay Kabir will deal with him, and he did. So, coming back to Joe Joyce now, I'm going off track, but I'm coming back on track with Joe. Coming back to Joe Joyce now. You've seen these things. You've seen Ishmael Salas with him, but Joe Joyce is fight after fight after fight. There's no development, really. There's no development. I like the way he used to jab. He used to jab really effectively against Dubois. It was the jab that helped him and controlled Dubois. But he goes into this Parker fight, no jab, just walking forward, like bombs away. And he goes in the same attitude, same way against Zhang. He gets stopped in the first fight. Now here's where I suss where the problem. For me, I noticed there's a real problem. When he got beat by Zhang the first time, his eyes swelled up, remember? And he stopped the fight. Between the first fight and the second fight, if you look at the second fight, you look at Joyce's face as he came into the second fight, he was significantly heavier. Now, why would you go in? You're already slow as it is, what as slow as molasses. Why would you go in the ring and be heavier against a guy you couldn't get out of the way the first time? Surely putting more weight on is going to be more of a problem for you, right? Because you're going to be less mobile and you're going to be taking the shots even more flush. So when it's time for you to move, you can't move out of the way. You're still getting hit with the left hand. And you've got his management saying about, yeah, we're going to knock out Zhang, talking a whole heap of rubbish. And if you listen, like I said before, if you go back and listen to what his manager was saying, in correlation to what his fighter could and couldn't do, it's like the way his manager was talking was if he wasn't managing Joe Joyce like he was managing Lennox Lewis. Because his manager wasn't relating to what his fighter was able to do and what he couldn't do. There was no admittance to the fact that Zhang is actually that good a fighter and it's going to be a difficult fight for Joyce to win. There was no admittance in that. It's like a complete arrogance, like, it was a blip, it was a mistake, but there was no admittance. So if the admittance was coming from the management team, and then they just, yeah, Joe, you're great, you got a granite chin, you're this, you're that, you're the other. Yeah, put more weight on, mate. If you put more weight on, you're bigger, you're heavier. And somehow, if you're bigger, you're heavier, then yeah, that means you'll be able to push Zhang around. But yeah, you're also slower. You don't move your head already, and you're walking straight lines. So you're going to be you're going to sucker punch. You're going to get caught again with the same punches. You're going to get knocked out even quicker. So people not pay attention to that. Just somehow, because you're fighting the same guy again, you put a little bit more weight on, you're going to win the fight. But when did boxing skills come into it? When did using the jab more effectively? Keeping the guy turning. Backing Zhang up and keeping him on against the ropes, so he cannot utilize that southpaw stance. What about let's box like you did against Dubois? Box this guy early. First 5 rounds, you take him into the second half of the fight and then go. But you're gonna go crash bang wallop against the guy who rocked you the first time, busted up your eye. You're going back into the fight, the lion's den to do the same old nonsense again. Didn't make any sense. It's kind of almost kamikaze. Then I was hearing the murmurs. Somebody online said, I didn't know who it was that said it, but they texted and said that Joe Joyce is going to go into this fight. He's going to get beaten in this first fight and he'll get stopped in a rematch. They're going to push him in. That's what I heard. Now, I don't know how true all that is, but we all know what happened. We all know what happened. And the reason why I'm talking to you about it like this is that people can understand my thinking and who I am. That I do look at things and I do analyse things. And as a coach, it is my job to look at things and look at things in such a manner a little deeper than a guy that's just eating popcorn and watching a fight or watching sport. It's my job as a coach to analyse things, break it down, segment by segment, piece by piece. I can only break down what I know. I don't know Joe. I don't know Joe's management. I do know. I was in touch with Sam Jones quite recently. Likeable dude, Sam Jones. I like him. He speaks from his hip, and a lot of people don't like that, but it is what it is. Anyway, so yeah, he was with Angel. He was with Sanchez, wasn't he? Joyce was working with Sanchez at one point. I think Sanchez would have been better for Joyce than this Ishmael Salas. But anyway, I was always critical of Ishmael Salas. I didn't think he was a good trainer for Joyce. I always felt that Joyce needed defense. And I always use the example of Vladimir Klitschko when he got knocked out by Ross Purity. And then Stewart brought him back, but gave him defense. So the defensive mechanisms that he did for Klitschko, because Klitschko was about vulnerable around the chin, it's like, right, I'm keeping all your punches straight. You don't throw any uppercuts, right? You don't throw any uppercuts from far out. You throw two and three punches maximum, straight punches where possible. Only throw hooks when you know they're going to land, right? And when a guy gets close to you, tie him up, hold him, maul him, turn him around, lean on him. If you see the same with Lennox Lewis. He managed to do Lennox the same thing. So you saw Lennox, so he do a lot of jab and grab, jab and grab. Yeah, Lennox would jab and grab and whip the uppercut on the inside. That stuff. That was all they managed to do away. So when you tie a guy up, you get your time to rest. You lean on him. If you're a bigger guy, you take the stuffing out the legs, as they say. Don't allow them to get as much get put weight on their back so their legs feel it. So you're sapping the energy out of them, leaning on their backs. That's what it was a strategy. It was used a lot. And against smaller guys, all that weight, you're 250, 260 pounds leaning on you. You look at Joe, he doesn't do a lot of that. Joe doesn't do a lot of holding and tying up on more. He doesn't do that stuff. Instead of him doing that, he allows the guy to hit him and then hit him and hit him again. There's no respite in that. So anyway, that's what would happen. They managed to had someone like Joe Joyce. That's what a good boxing coach would give Joe Joyce. Defense. If you look at fights with Joe and sequences where, especially this Chisora fight, where Chisora hit him twice, three times, hit him with the overhand right, or hit him with a left hook, hit him with a left hook, hit him with a right hand, and Joe didn't respond. He was responding, his head going back, and then all Joe would do is just walk forward again, because that's all he's programmed to do. That's all he understands, either he wants to understand, or the trainer is incapable of teaching him. Either one of the three things. None of those things are helping his career. None of those things are helping his career. No tying up, no holding. The only time he's tying up now is when he's get hurt. Anyway, I digress. Let's come back to why. So I'm watching all these things with Joe Joyce, and things happening around Joe Joyce. So he gets knocked out by Zhang, flat face forward. Midge's like, oh, Joyce has been knocked out. So you're waiting for the moment to see Joyce get knocked out, to see that impenetrable chin get cracked. So he comes back against Cash Ali. Noticeably, the same heavy set he had when he fought Zhang the second time is the same heavy-faced Joyce we had again. Now, I wasn't around. I saw the Cash Ali fight, and he looked dreadful in the Cash Ali fight. So I thought, okay, maybe he's looked dreadful in the Cash Ali fight because of the fact that he got knocked up by Zhang. First bad defeat, knockout defeat of your career. You're embarrassed, you feel bad, whatever. It's happened. All right. So I give you the Cash Ali fight. You've got that out of the way. The Derek Chisora fight gets announced. Now, please remember now, Derek Chisora hadn't fought for a year. And this was a fight that Joe Joyce people were saying, he knocked Chisora out. And I was saying, the way Chisora fights, Joe Joyce's kryptonite is the overhand right. And I said, with Chisora, because I've seen him up close, Chisora will sit on the ropes. He can sit on the ropes. You can be throwing punishment at him, and then he'll leap off the ropes, and he'll launch his attack off the ropes when you think he's hurt. I said, and if he does that, Joyce is going to be in some trouble. We all saw what happened. Joyce went down against Derek Chisora. Derek Chisora has not fought for a year. 40-year-old Derek Chisora lands the heavier punches. And in that fight, Joyce looked slower. I didn't know how much Joe Joyce weighed. Because at the weigh-in, I didn't see the weigh-in. I was busy, I was working. So I wasn't around for the weigh-in. When I actually heard on the radio Joe Joyce was 20 stone, 20 stone, I said, no, man. You're not winning no fight with this 20 stone. And I heard Chisora had come in lighter. I live opposite main road. So I'm just saying to myself, what are you hoping to achieve with this? 20 stone, you still go in a narrative that if you're heavier, you win the fight. So no wonder when he's walking, moving around the ring, he's moving even slower than molasses. And it's an element of his heart and his guts and a little bit of boxing skill and the pressure he's putting in Chisora. Obviously, he's punching Chisora back. But just think to yourself for a second. What happened? Why is he ballooned up to 20 stone? Like, what's going on with his career? Why is nobody taking him aside and said, "Look, bro, you cannot be an elite heavyweight fighting like this. You're getting hit too much." The fact of the matter is, your last fight you had, you lost a 40-year-old who hadn't fought in over a year. And in his last fight, he looked terrible against Gerald Washington. And in his fight before that, he was getting beat by Joseph Parker. He was getting beat up by Joseph Parker. The guy that you beat up, the guy that you stopped. Now, I know that if A beats B and blah, 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 it doesn't work. It's boxing triangles and stuff. But come on, man. And now I'm hearing that there was a fight lined up for Joe Joyce to go and fight Martin Piccoli. Like, surely your mind should be set. You've got the Red season that's going on now. Turki Al-Sheikh is bringing fighters together. Surely you want to be in the mix. Surely you wanted. Surely you want to be part of the mix. Surely you want to be in that big money. Surely that's where you want to be. Saying you want to be heavyweight champion of the world. Surely you want to be up there. Was it not too long ago the same Joe Joyce was standing on the ring apron with Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury vying for a fight with Fury? Was not then that Derek Chisora stepped in because the fight was cancelled with Fury and Usyk? Derek Chisora stepped through the ropes, and you saw what Fury did to him. Oh, Joe Joyce is Olympic in my mind, despite the nonsense. I know he's a silver medalist, but Joe Joyce is a gold medal winning champion in the Olympics, as far as I'm concerned. I know he's a silver medalist for the record and stuff, but you know what I mean. Now, usually, when you're a gold medalist and you're a heavyweight, there's a way your career is managed. Look at the way Lennox Lewis's career was managed, right? Gold medalist, heavyweight champion of the world. Hey, move. Gold medalist to heavyweight champion of the world. And yeah, they did do a similar thing with sort of fast. They didn't fast track Lennox as fast as they fast tracked Joyce. And Joyce was looking okay. He was looking really good in terms of the way he was putting people away and knocking people out. As soon as he met Zhang, it all went wrong from that point, or maybe from the Joseph Parker fight. It all went wrong. Now, I don't know if that's the arrogance of Joe Joyce, his team, because if it's down to that manager, he don't know what he's talking about. Sorry, he don't know what he's talking about. Salas is not a coach, or not a heavyweight coach anyway. He might be good with middleweights and lightweights. He can't coach a heavyweight to save his life. Salas is probably the worst trainer. Because imagine like someone like. Imagine what Uncle Bashir could do with Joe Joyce. Like, let's take Joe Joyce back to when he fought. After he fought. Let's say we employed Bashir to look after Joyce after the Brian Jennings fight. I can assure you Joyce would be able to have a better defense, better mobility, know the right weight to fight at, and be professional in your approach. But just seemed like Joe Joyce's career has just, like, what was the point of fighting Zhilei Zhang, please? I don't understand, because Zhilei Zhang is no closer to a world title fight. So what is up with Joe Joyce's career? He looked at the press conference with Derek Chisora for the final press conference. When Derek's talking to him, it looked like Derek had systematically taken like Joyce's soul. I said this in my pre-fight. I said the way Derek's talking to Joyce and the way Joyce is responding to Derek, Derek's done a demolition job with Joyce outside the ring. All he has to do is finish the job off inside the ring. And that's what he did. That's what he did. He told Joyce, I'm not scared of you. I have no fear of you. I'm intimidated by you. And you're not that man. You're not that man that puts fear in me. And it's all right chucking punches at a guy and then he'll fall over, or you see that. But when a guy's chucking punches back at you and he's bombing you, he's hitting you, he's hurting you over and over again, did Joyce prepare properly for the fight? The other question we've got to ask, and I have to ask the question, is he able to see through his eyes? Is his eyesight clear? Like, we know that Dubois had some issue with his eye. There's something wrong with Joe Joyce's eye. Is he able to see clearly through both eyes? Is there damage to the eye? Because Joyce it just seems like there's a big cloud, a big dark cloud over Joe Joyce's career since that Zhang fight. PTSD? Are they hiding an injury? Is Joyce's eye more damaged than we know? Is he seeing properly out of both eyes? There was scar tissue under the eye before. We know that before the Zhang fight. But did Zhang do serious damage to Joyce's career? I mean, I don't know. But something isn't right. David Haye pulled away from him. Sam Jones pulled away from him. So what's going on? What is it? You tell me. And so now, what have we got left with Joe Joyce? He's still got that terrible trainer. He's still got the clueless manager. And his career now reads that you're only as good as your last fight. In your last fight, you got beat unanimously by a 40-year-old guy, and he was out of the ring a year ago. And then a year ago, he fought, what's his name? Gerald Washington. What the hell? Where's Gerald Washington today? Oh yeah, Joe Parker's on a different. He's on a different level now, Joe. He's gone and beat Wilder, and he's gone and beat Zhang. So, who's going to fight Joe Joyce now? I mean, in some ways, it might be a blessing in disguise because the Turkey Al Sheikh might be able to bring him back. But there was a fight, I understand, that Joyce was going to fight Martin Bakole. So, where are you going with that? Where are you going with that team? Where are you going with that team? A clueless manager, a clueless trainer, and you don't look too clued up yourself. Somebody asks you a question, what, what? You deaf in your ear or what? There's some stuff it's not making sense to me. What, and then people have to direct you. Frank had to pull him into an interview. Frank was doing a post-fight interview and talking with Derek Chisora and praising Derek Chisora. They had to literally call Joyce over, and it like, you want to see me fight again? Do you? Yeah. No, Joe. We don't want to see you fight again. We don't want to see that again. Like I say, with Turkey Al Sheikh, he can resurrect. Turkey Al Sheikh's like, he can resurrect Joe Joyce's career. Joe Joyce can be cannon fodder for somebody else's career now. You know, it could be that fight that, you can do another fight where you gets basic. The loser of Jared Anderson and Bakole could fight Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce could fight that big ugly monster. What's his name? Abdusalamov. Joe Joyce could go and fight Ajit Kabayel. I wouldn't want that for him. Joe Joyce could fight Herkovich. because both guys had bad defeats. Herkovic and Joyce, an old Olympic rematch, rerun. And I mean, Herkovic is at what one significant loss in his record, getting stopped by Daniel Dubois. I mean, he could always go that way. Or after Joshua fights Dubois, the loser of that fight could fight Joe Joyce. Or the winner of the fight of Dubois and Joshua could make the first defense of the title against Joe Joyce. So to me, if I'm Joe Joyce now, and I need to get back. I need to get back into, like, I haven't got time to mess around. Like, you talk about fast track, he's got to track fast now. It's not even about fast track, it's track fast. I would be saying to Joyce, right, if it was me tomorrow, if I got a call tomorrow morning from Joe Joyce, right? If I got a call tomorrow from Joe Joyce, if I got a call from Joe Joyce tomorrow morning, and he said, mate, what would you do? I say, mate, let's meet. Let's meet in a cheeky. Let's go and have a neat cheeky Nando's tomorrow, right? So I'd meet him at for cheeky Nando's in Putney. That's where he's from. I go to Putney. I sit down and say, Joe, listen, here's a few things I'd like to do for your career. Not being funny, right? But get rid of that manager you've got. Get rid of that trainer you've got. Team up with, go and team up with Bashir or um, Ronnie Shields or Derek James. You know, work with any three of them guys. Go work with Derek James, for example. Go work with Derek James. Or even Virgil Hunter, because Virgil Hunter likes defense. Virgil Hunter, Derek James, James Ali Bashir. There's three trainers that you could go to. But go down to the Jibs. You know, go and work with them. Go and talk to George Foreman. Go and take some time talking to Larry Holmes. Not too much time. Talk to those guys. Talk to Larry Holmes about the jab. Talk to Foreman about that style where you just put your people against the ropes and pummel them, because he's got that there. But he just seems unsure of himself, and the people around him. You know, you are also a product of your environment, but you certainly feed off the environment. And look at his manager. He does not. That manager just fill me with any sort of vibe of heavyweight champion of the world. Just doesn't. Doesn't. Sorry. You know, it doesn't. Um, and get around people who really know about heavyweight boxing, and a trainer that's gonna take you, that's gonna get you into the right shape, give you the right boxing plan, based on your boxing ability and what you offer as a box fighter. And let's go. I'd shave Joe Joyce's head off. I'd rebrand him, and I'd go with the motto of Anthony Joshua: less talk, more action. Because for him, he can't talk. Joe Joyce cannot talk. He cannot start a sentence without going, Stop it. I don't know if he's deaf in one ear. I don't, or he's not present. I don't know. It just doesn't look good, right? Let's talk. Be one of them guys that just to press. I do more talking in the ring. That's it. And like they did with Anthony Joshua, we see that it's okay for Joshua. They pick the opponents that make Joshua look good. They've got to pick fighters that will make him look good. If I'm Joe Joyce, I'd angle for a fight against Johnny Fisher. That's a good fight. I'd angle for a fight against Johnny Fisher. I'll take his fans. Uh, any guy that, guys that don't move that much, straight in front of you, straight lines. Johnny and got experience. Johnny Fisher, I'll take that fight. Uh, a fight against Big Baby Miller. Let's go with Big Baby Miller. Why? It's a big fight, big name. Miller will do all the talking. He'll do all the trash talking. He'll sell the fight, and it's that platform. That's what you want. A guy's gonna talk the talk, and you don't have to do too much talking. Let the other guy do all the talking. You just keep your mouth shut. Don't talk. Go and fight Miller. Them sort of fights you need to have. You know, people are gonna bring it to you, and because that's why the Chisora fight was good, because Chisora was the guy I saw the fight. You can't ask Joe Joyce to sell a fight. So Joe Joyce, you know, even a fight against Huey Fury, that would be a nice fight. Huey Fury, Joe Joyce. I mean, that's probably. I mean, in terms of listening to them guys, it's like flipping watching paint dry. I mean, would be more exciting. No disrespect to them as talent and talent fighters, but paint dry. But in terms of boxing, it'd be quite a good fight, I think. So they they he needs to get himself in that mix. And he needs to be ready when he's in that mix. So all this time where he's out and people saying he should retire, change your team, get rid of your manager, get rid of your trainer, leave that gym you're training, like not all that stupid nonsense you're doing with that tennis ball. Instead of you working, you say working on getting your head movement right, or getting your hands up, or using your jab and keeping your chin tucked in behind your shoulder, and using the jab. Instead you're doing stuff like that. You see you doing nonsense hitting a tennis ball. You're not Usyk. You're not Lomachenko. You're not them guys. So you need to be doing certain things to to counter your deficiencies, and some of your deficiencies, the fact that you're blocking punches with your face, you're stopping more shots than a goalkeeper. And if that's the pardon my French, if that's the shit you're going to carry on doing, mate, retire, announce your retirement today, and don't come back in a boxing ring again. Because it seems you're just stubborn like that. Because what else are you doing? You're distressing your fans because you can't be bothered to make certain decisions you need to make, or because you's getting in the ring and people have to watch that nonsense, that rubbish. And you, man, Olympic gold medalist almost. Let a man like Chisora's got 13 losses on his record come and thump you up. Again, I'm not disrespecting Derek. I love Derek, but you should not have been letting that happen. You should have been using your jab, keeping him at distance, and punishing Derek every time he comes in with the uppercut. Grab him, push him back against the ropes, use the jab. It's like he fought Derek Chisora like he'd never known what Derek Chisora is. He fought Derek Chisora like he was shocked by Derek Chisora's toughness, and he was shocked at the fact that Derek Chisora was going to throw so many punches. But that's what Chisora does. That's as dumb as, you know, going into the shower, turning the shower on, the shower head, and water's coming out the shower head, and expecting water not to come out when you turn the shower head on and the water comes through and hits you in your face. Well, I wasn't expecting water to come out the shower head. What were we expecting? Fruits? Yeah, he was tough, man. Yeah, well, everyone knows Derek Chisel was tough. And he's stubborn. And he's going to chuck the overhand right. And you're going to get hit with it. I mean, it is as basic and as simple as that. You've got a guy who throws hooks and hooks and hooks and hooks and overhand rights and hooks. You're tall and you're long. You've got a good leech. Use your jab. Tie him up. No. You want to get close with the guy. You want the guy to hit in your chin. Okay, you get your head's rigging from round one. You get hit with you get right over the top. Go back and sit in your stool. Okay, that hurt. Let me go out there and get hit with the same punch once, twice, three times. Let Derek Chisora double up on me with a left hook. Like making Chisora look like he's Evander Holyfield. Man, listen. So bad. So bad. And that is because your trainer hasn't a clue himself. He's not got a clue. All between you, your trainer, and your manager. I won't call them in betweeners. The clueless. The clueless gang. You haven't got a clue between the three of you. Salas, morally, immorally, I don't know. Morally, Salas, and Joyce. The three of them, the three would be kings. They haven't got a clue. They're clueless. The clueless kings. That's what they are. Clueless. And you have to sit down and watch that as a guy supporting Joe Joyce. Uh, that night, I just turned to. I was Derek. I love Derek Chisora, and for that fight, I had to tell people, "Hey, watch Derek Chisora." It's what I was saying. Watching the fight is so bad. it's just a job for him. He's happy to lose now by the looks of it. Well, he obviously he might have come out from the mentality of you know what, I've been knocked out face first. So what's the worst that can happen? I can get knocked out face first again. Yeah, that's the worst that can happen. You might end up having the Danny Jacobs mentality, and you know what that is. Well, I'm happy to be here. Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here and get beaten up. I'm happy to be here and not throw many punches back, but let other people throw punches at me. I'm happy to be here and take the check and go home. I'm happy to be here. I couldn't stand Danny Jacobs' fights. I just couldn't. I couldn't. Sorry, I couldn't do it. Best fight I saw Danny Jacobs win, unfortunately, was against Kid Chocolate. Remember him? Middleweight champion of the world? Yeah, he beat him up. It was his mate. I felt so sorry. That was a dude that got a draw against Andy Lee, and everyone's rating him up. And Jacobs did a number of him. Anyway, I hope Joe Joyce. I hope for. I hope there's some changes because if he comes back with his clueless manager and his clueless trainer, I think his fans are just abandon him because they're going to get more of the same rubbish. But if he comes back with his team, new team, set up and say, right, you know what? We're going to go one more goal at this. What happened to his old manager? Who was I can't remember which one. You talk about Hay or you talking about Sam Jones? It looks like it's gone downhill from there. Yeah, quite possibly. Like the sense in the corner. Clueless. Clueless. And Frank's gone and said, Frank says, oh, that Adam Wall, he's a good manager, he is. That's a Hall of Fame promoter. Frank Warren says that he says that the manager, Joyce's manager, is a good manager. But I don't know if he said that because they've got some special arrangement going on there. Because frankly, I don't see him. Yeah, Sam Jones. Yeah, but Sam Jones was the mouthpiece. Sam Jones was the guy that was talking about Joe Joyce. Because I remember getting into it with Sam about Joe. I remember getting into him about it. You know, I could see the holes and and the way Joyce was walking, but his aura seemed different. Joyce's aura seemed different around Sam Jones. He probably had that, and that's what he needs. He needs something like a Sam Jones shouting and barking from him. He needs it because he can't talk. Now even Chisora exposed Joyce, and he had someone teaching him how to speak properly at press conferences. Oh my God! If you need someone to teach you, I'm done. I'm done. When I heard that from Chisora as well, I said, Derek, how can you say that? Oh yeah, I see you're getting lessons now from your teacher now. He's teaching you how to speak at press conferences. I'm like, oh no. No, 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 no. No, no, no. That was when the press one of the press officers asked Anthony Joshua when he's in America, "Oh yeah, is it true you've gone and seen a sports psychologist because you're scared of getting knocked out by Andy Ruiz?" That's like moments of exposure. Like that's sort of them moments. Like I don't let's not talk about it anymore. So I don't know. Do I close the book on Joe Joyce? If he comes back with that team, yeah, book's closed. He's finished. He should retire. If he comes back with that same team, yeah, it's gonna be some shrewd matchmaking and some different policy tactics. That's it. But something's definitely not right with Joe Joyce. Something is definitely not right. I don't know if he's got an injury he's concealing. I don't know if he's suffering from PTSD, like Chisora talked about. In other words, he's traumatized from the Zhang knockout. Why is he coming to fight so heavy? He's been coming into fights heavy since the um, the Zhang 2 fight. I think Wardley would batter him. Mm, Wardley himself, I love Wardley, but he's got his vulnerable points as well. I love Wardley. I was telling people I love Wardley for time, but Wardley's got some vulnerabilities as well. he ain't too clever against the ropes. Audley, he's got no defense against the ropes, and if Joyce got Audley against some ropes, I wouldn't want to see, because if slow Fraser Clark can catch him, then I think that Joyce could catch him as well, and Joyce hits harder than Audley, and not Audley Clark. So I, I think that's an interesting fight. Speed and reflexes are in. Yeah, Clark Joyce. That's a good fight. Yeah, I think Joyce did Clark in the amateurs. Yeah, he knocked Clark out in the amateurs. Knocked him through the ropes in the amateurs. I think he beat him twice. Knocked him out twice. So I know it might be a good fight now. Right, let me get out of here. Thank you all for watching. Let me know. I know I've gone on and banged on a bit about Joe Joyce, but I have to do it because I'm just sharing my whole thoughts about Joe Joyce, how I feel about a guy that's really fallen off, and once again, a terrible trainer has ruined another heavyweight career. Let me not go into about Deontay Wilder. Let me get out of here. Joe needs to get rid of his team. Oh, there we go. I've said it. See you, man. I'm out. I've been saying this for 46 minutes. Let me get out, because next up is Martin Bacoli. Yeah, yeah, of course they've messed up. They've messed up his career. So let me get out of here. Martin Bacoli next.